The moment I caught them together, everything I believed shattered. He didn't just cheat, he humiliated me. And she looked me in the eye and smiled. But this isn't just a story about betrayal. This is a story about a woman who decided enough was enough. And turned her pain into power. Here's how I exposed them both. The sound of the door slamming echoed through the empty hallway, reverberating in the pit of my stomach. It was as if the noise was a punctuation mark on the moment that had just shattered everything I thought I knew about my life. The betrayal was not just in his actions, it was in the way it all unfolded before my eyes, with an almost cruel precision. I had spent years trusting him, loving him, and believing in our future. And now, that future lay in ruins, scattered like broken glass around me. I had always thought our marriage was solid, built on mutual respect and shared dreams. We had laughed together, cried together, built a life that seemed impenetrable to the world. But in one moment, that fortress crumbled. How could I not have seen the signs? The late nights, the excuses, the texts that never quite made sense, it all came rushing back in a flood of doubt and disbelief. But none of that mattered now. What mattered was that I had caught him, and with it came the overwhelming rush of emotions, rage, hurt, confusion, pushing me to the edge of something I couldn't yet name. I tried to hold my composure as I confronted him. But the words I had rehearsed for so long seemed to evaporate the moment I saw him standing there, guilty and silent. "How could you?" was all I managed to choke out. His face, pale and defensive, didn't show any remorse. Instead, he tried to deflect, pointing fingers, making excuses. "It wasn't like that," he said, his voice shaky but defensive. "You don't understand." His words hung in the air, thick with lies, and I couldn't help but wonder how many times he had used them before, on me, on others. And then, as if on cue, she appeared. The woman who had replaced me in his heart, standing there with a look of triumph in her eyes, as if this moment was a victory for her. Her presence only deepened the betrayal I felt. She was everything I wasn't, confident, unashamed. She didn't flinch when I turned my gaze toward her. "You knew about me?" I asked, my voice cracking with hurt. She didn't respond, she just looked at me with those cold, calculating eyes, as if she had won the game. The room seemed to close in on me, and for a brief second, I couldn't breathe. The anger was suffocating, drowning out everything else. "You two have no idea what you've done," I whispered, my voice trembling. I felt the weight of every year, every sacrifice, every moment we had shared crashing down on me. How could they do this? How could he betray everything we had built for something so fleeting? For someone so different? But I knew then that it wasn't just about them anymore. It wasn't even about the marriage that had been torn apart. It was about me, about reclaiming the life I had lost in their deception. The anger was still there, but it was no longer the only emotion I felt. Beneath it, there was a simmering resolve to move forward, to rebuild. The path ahead wouldn't be easy, but I knew I couldn't stay stuck in this moment forever. Not for them. Not for anyone. I turned away, forcing myself to take that first step into an uncertain future. As I walked out of the room, I couldn't help but feel the weight of the decision settling in. This was it. No more turning back. I was done being the victim of their lies. It was time to find my own way again. The road would be long, but it was mine to travel. And as the door closed behind me, I couldn't shake the feeling that the real journey was just beginning. The tension in the air was palpable as I stood across from Trevor, the man I had once loved and trusted, and the woman who had now taken his place. My heart pounded as I confronted him, my voice sharp with betrayal. "How could you do this to me?" I demanded, my hands trembling but my resolve unwavering. Trevor's face, once so familiar, now seemed foreign, his eyes avoiding mine as if the truth had the power to burn. "It's not what it seems," he stammered, his words desperate but hollow. The woman, his lover, stood there, smug and unrepentant. Her gaze was cold, almost calculated, as if she enjoyed watching the devastation unfold. "Don't act like the victim here," I snapped, turning to her. "You knew exactly what you were doing. Her lips curled into a small, unapologetic smile, as though my pain was nothing more than a fleeting amusement for her. But it wasn't just about them anymore. This wasn't a private affair. No, this was a public humiliation, and as the crowd around us began to murmur, I could feel the weight of every word, every accusation, pressing down on me. They were watching, waiting for me to break. But I wouldn't. Not now. Look at what you've done, I continued, my voice shaking with a mix of anger and disbelief. You've destroyed everything, and for what? A few moments of selfish pleasure? The silence that followed felt heavy, as if everyone around me was holding their breath. The power shifted in that moment. I was no longer the victim in this story, I was taking control. The room, once filled with whispers, now waited for my next move. I had no tears left to shed, no words left to waste. This was my moment, my declaration that I would rise above this betrayal. The confrontation was inevitable. As I stood there, facing him and the woman who had shattered our world, the room seemed to close in. My heart pounded in my chest as I locked eyes with Trevor. How could you? The words came out sharp, though they didn't seem to hit their mark. His face, once filled with affection, was now defensive and cold, eyes darting away from mine. She, on the other hand, stood there with a quiet smirk, as if nothing mattered anymore. Her presence was a reminder of everything I had lost, a reminder of the betrayal that now defined my life. I could feel the humiliation wrapping around me, but I refused to let it consume me. You thought this was going to be easy? I asked, though it was more of a statement. You thought I'd let you destroy everything we built? The air between us crackled with tension as I held my ground. Trevor tried to speak, but his words faltered. The woman's eyes glinted with something I couldn't quite place, triumph, perhaps. They had no idea what I was capable of now. No idea that, in this moment, I was no longer the victim. I was the one in control. I glanced around at the people watching us, their eyes wide with shock and discomfort. This wasn't just about me anymore. This was about everyone witnessing the unraveling of a lie. I hope you're proud of what you've done, I spat, my voice trembling with a mix of fury and disgust. I didn't care who heard. This needed to be said. This moment would be mine. The night after the confrontation, I couldn't bring myself to sleep. The chaos of it all replayed in my mind, but this time, I wasn't angry anymore. I was empty. The pain of betrayal had not only fractured my trust in Trevor but also left me questioning everything I thought I knew about love, loyalty, and myself. How could I have been so blind? How could I have missed the signs, the whispers of doubt that had been there all along? I sat by the window, staring at the dark streets below, trying to piece together the pieces of my life. The past, our shared memories, now felt distant, tainted by the reality I'd uncovered. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that the betrayal wasn't just a betrayal of me, it was a betrayal of the person I used to be. The woman who believed in love, in the good of people, in the power of family. But that woman was gone now. And as much as it hurt, I knew this was my turning point. I had to find a way forward. The anger I had felt earlier had shifted, transformed into a need for closure, for understanding. I couldn't keep holding on to the past, to a future that no longer existed. The truth was, I had to rebuild, starting with myself. It wasn't going to be easy, but as I sat there, I felt a small spark of something new. Something I hadn't felt in a long time, hope. And that, I realized, was the first step toward moving on. Self-reflection plays an essential role in personal growth and healing, particularly after experiencing significant emotional turmoil. When we take the time to pause and analyze our actions, thoughts, and feelings, we gain a deeper understanding of ourselves. This introspection allows us to confront painful emotions and question past decisions, ultimately leading to personal transformation. Through self-reflection, we acknowledge the impact of our experiences and how they shape our current behavior. It helps us realize where we may have gone wrong, and, more importantly, how to correct our course moving forward. For example, after facing betrayal, reflecting on the situation allows us to understand why we allowed certain things to happen and what boundaries we need to set in the future. However, this process is not easy. It often brings up uncomfortable truths that challenge our perceptions of ourselves. For instance, questioning our judgment and trusting someone can lead to feelings of shame or regret. But, embracing these difficult moments is crucial for healing. By recognizing our mistakes, we empower ourselves to make better choices, free from the constraints of past fears or insecurities. The benefits of self-reflection extend beyond personal clarity. It opens the door to emotional healing and growth. When we understand our past, we are better equipped to move forward with a renewed sense of purpose and strength. Instead of remaining stuck in cycles of regret, we take control of our future by learning from our experiences. In a way, self-reflection is like an emotional reset button. It allows us to recalibrate, to grow from our mistakes, and to emerge stronger and more resilient. By taking the time to reflect, we give ourselves the chance to heal, and more importantly, the freedom to embrace a future shaped by our own choices.